I thought this was really compelling. Does a path for the A's to stay in Oakland exist? Now, as much as there's speculation on Las Vegas and the complications and difficulties and private financing and referendum votes and 9 acres, like there's a lot of questions there. But it almost does feel like right now maybe the attempt to relocate is actually separate from what A's fans in Oakland hope for, and that's the team staying. Do you see that as being detached, and is that part of your piece here?
I think that they are two kind of different things. With the relocation, obviously, the A's want to stay in Vegas. That's their plan, but it seems like they may have some other plans in here that could go, as another future home if Vegas does not work out. Whereas it seems as though from everything that we've seen from the commissioner, the league, the Players Association hasn't necessarily been like anti the relocation yet, which is interesting. And then, just the team itself and John Fisher, just everything that they've been saying and doing doesn't really make it seem like they want to be in Oakland anymore. If they wanted to leave that door open, they wouldn't have, burned Oakland to the ground essentially when after the reverse boycott and all that stuff. You wouldn't have some of the quotes that have come out from these parties if Oakland was a viable path if things don't go correctly. The two sides aren't even talking right now, and so obviously things can change very quickly, as we've mentioned, but as they're not even talking. There's no communication between the two sides about even a lease agreement to get the A's the RSN money that they probably want. If they're not even talking about that, then staying in Oakland just doesn't seem feasible. And there's more things that I go over in there, like what about this? What about this? And it just seemed like there was a way to get them to not be in Oakland with all of those paths, and so that made me sad. But I had to write it.
Sure.
Even though it some people were pushed back and were like, well, what about the flip tax? And I wrote a follow-up piece on the flip tax a little bit. And that was more so they made that rule. They can break that rule. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I suppose you're right on that. You mentioned obviously the A's either existing or not in Oakland, but how about the A's existing at all? And this came out on Sacktown Sports 1140. And it also was repeated by Casey Pratt that maybe the A's could actually disband for 3 seasons before moving to Las Vegas. And your piece on it, I mean, that is exactly the headline and the title. So what's behind that? What's the reality of that? I mean, I hear it from sources and people I trust, and I don't think they would blurt this out if there was nothing to it. I'm also not here to say that it's an actuality or a reality that's being considered. Where do you see this?
It doesn't seem like something that can happen. I mean, it can happen, but the likelihood of it seems to be fairly low. I think that we've seen this with the A's a little bit, is where they'll float something and then see how the public reacts and what kind of, what the reception is for something. And then if they get a good reaction, then maybe they pursue that a little bit more. And I think that that's kind of what we saw a little bit. Obviously, the fans in Oakland did not like that. I don't know that it necessarily got a lot of traction, nationally, but it would make sense for John Fisher. He would not have nearly as many expenses, and as he's trying to save money for Las Vegas, if that's where they do end up, then he'd save some money there. He wouldn't have much revenue coming in, but he wouldn't have to lose $40 million as he claimed from 2023 either. So,
well, there would be no player expenses, obviously, and that's the biggest part of the A's payroll as a business. I also find it interesting that one of the things Las Vegans love about the Golden Knights is that they were an expansion team. They had an expansion draft. They got to essentially start all their traditions and players and backstories anew. And in a sense, I mean, the A's have obviously been in Las Vegas for a while now. They've heard that conversation down there, that's what Las Vegas loves. And maybe this was a way for them to somehow, as a franchise that's touted with 100+ years of history, like literally start from scratch and be that expansion existence for Vegas. Now, I will say that's part of probably the allure of the A's, but the Players Association would probably have something to say about 40 fewer jobs across baseball at the major league level for 3 full seasons, right?
Yeah. Oh, you would have to. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing what they're meant to do, you would imagine.
Yeah.
Also, there's all the minor league system players that.
What do you do with them?
Expand other things. But
right.
like, what do you do?
Right.
Is like Brett Harris not a player anymore? Like they could sign other places, but then they'd push somebody else out. There's a bunch of jobs that would be lost.
Super messy. I mean, it's hard to even really go down.
Scheduling would be a whole other thing.
The divisions, I totally get it. 29 teams for a single season, or three full seasons. Yeah, and the 3 full seasons is at least 3 full seasons is always another part of it. So I guess to sum this one up, it's out there. We've seen stranger things happen, but this one probably not likely to happen.
I don't see how it could, but also I'm tired of being surprised at this point.
Yeah. Nothing would surprise me at this point.